in today's video, I'm going to be doing a car life Q&A. So a lot of you guys, most of you guys probably know that for the last, are you ready for this? 9 years, like almost exactly 9 years, I have been living in my car and traveling on and off. And so there are some times that I'll get an apartment and I'll stay in one place for a little while. And then there are some times that I will live in this little Toyota Yaris and I will drive around the country and I will sleep in here and I will live in here. And so the last couple of years I've been living in an apartment, but it's been like 2 months or so that I've been back in my car as a little experiment to see if I want to go back to doing it full time again and, you know, really live in my car and drive around the country again. So I've been in here for a couple months and I asked you guys on Instagram to ask me questions about car life, about sleeping in my car, living in my car, road trips, anything like that. And so I have all the Instagram questions on my phone and I just figured that I would go through some car life Q&A questions. Yeah, if you guys are really excited for car life, for road trips, for sleeping in my car content, I really hope that you guys are subscribed. I also do some lifestyle and other videos on here as well, but I really hope that you're subscribed. I hope that you like this video and I hope that you leave a comment of just other things that you're really excited to see on my channel. But without further ado, let's get into this car life Q&A. Okay, Emma Ann asked, do you ever feel cramped or claustrophobic when living in a car? Sometimes, but not really. I'm not really a claustrophobic person. Would it be nice sometimes to be able to stretch out a little bit more than I do in my car? Sure. But that desire is not strong enough that like it's going to deter me from traveling. You guys know I have a little bit more stuff in my car than I normally do because I've gained a lot more hobbies recently, and so I have yarn and beads and sticker books and stuff like that in the car. But when it's really messy, it makes me a little like because it is a tight space that's messy, but I can organize it. And you know, if I ever do feel cramped in the car for some reason, I can just leave. I can just go outside. I can go for a walk. I can go into a store. I can just go outside. And so if there is any reason that I'm like, oh, I just feel like cramped and like I need to like stretch out, just go outside or go into another store or go into a grocery store or something like that. But generally, like, especially if we're talking about sleeping and stuff, sometimes, yeah, it does sound nice to stretch out completely horizontally, stretch out. But again, that desire is not strong enough that it makes me not want to be in the car, especially because there are still ways that I can stretch out in the car. Sometimes I'll feel a little cramped because of some of the stuff in my car, but if you watch some of my Instagram stories and Instagram lives that I do, I already talked about this, about how some of the stuff in my car within the next month, if I'm still in my car in a month, which who knows, because this is like a little experiment if I want to be in my car more full time or not, but if I'm still in my car the next month, I'll probably have gone through a lot of the yarn and a couple of the books and stuff like that. So some of this is only in the car temporarily. So, okay, Nancy asked, how do you not get tired when you drive? I can't make it more than 3 or 4 hours before I'm exhausted. So when I was younger, Nancy, when I was in my 20s, I was able to drive from Nashville to New York, which is like, it was like 16, 17 hours with stops and stuff. And I would do that fine. I would only really stop for gas and for food. I wouldn't really stop to nap or sleep or anything like that. And I would just be able to drive through totally fine. Now that I'm a little bit older, that's definitely harder. And so nowadays I don't really drive more than 8 hours a day unless I have to. Like I have a destination or I am just going A to B and I just want to get it over with. I might drive more than that. But nowadays, like, I mean, even the last few months that I've been back on the road, there have maybe only been a couple days that I've driven more than 4 or 5 hours in a day. Because nowadays I kind of prefer, you know, driving for a few hours and then experiencing the town that I'm in or taking more stops or something like that. So yeah, no, I get tired and I even sometimes get bored or I just don't want to drive, but it just kind of depends what you're doing. If you have point A to point B, you might drive a further distance in one day or in 2 days. And you just kind of, you know, take that sacrifice because it's your priority, right? But if you're just kind of on the road and you're just kind of moseying on and there's no real destination, then yeah, I might only drive a couple hours a day. So, but then also if you're really talking about tired, I don't drink caffeine. So if you're really just talking about like you need to drive further and you're tired, you know, sing along to music or listen to something like a podcast or something that's really like grasping your attention. Call someone on the phone, talk to someone on the phone, have a snack. I think those are just a couple ways to help yourself stay awake if you need to stay awake. But if you're exhausted, please pull over, go to a truck stop or a rest area or something like that. Please do not drive when you're that tired. It is just super, super dangerous. But if you're just getting a little tired and you're like, oh, I just gotta stay awake for another few minutes, yeah, you know, drink some water, have a snack, call someone on the phone, you know, listen to music and sing along and stuff like that could help you stay awake for a little while longer. But if you are exhausted and you feel like your eyes are closing, find the closest gas station or rest area or something like that so you can close your eyes for a little while and maybe nap, because it's just super dangerous. Okay, I'm going through all these questions, and a lot of them I think I'm gonna make individual videos about. Someone's like, any, you know, beginner tips for someone who wants to live in their car and travel. Do you have any tips about coping with food sensitivities on the road? There's just several questions like that that I'm like, I could make that into a whole video. And so, sorry if I don't answer your question in this video, but it might be a question that I have a longer answer to that I might just make a separate video for. This video, I just wanted to answer a few questions that I could maybe do a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit shorter. You guys know I talk a lot, but anyway. Funky Fork asked, what do you do in your spare time? I could probably make this into a separate video. Maybe I will, but I'll still answer it here a little bit. So I really think that if you're gonna live in a car, whether you're working or not, whether you are staying in the same place or not, whether you know people in the area and you hang out with them or not, regardless, you need to have some sort of hobby that's not just scrolling on Instagram, you know, or just staring at your phone all the time. I stare at my phone a couple hours a day. I think that's fine, unless you realize it's causing you anxiety or you realize it's making you be less productive or anything like that. But I think having that as a hobby is fine for a certain portion of the day, you know. But I still think it's really important to have hobbies. And so I have my sticker books. I have regular books. I just read a book last week. I have the crocheting. I make little like beaded bracelets and stuff. And so I think it's really good, again, to have hobbies that even if you do yourself, or maybe you can go to a class, or if you want to take tennis lessons or just anything, having some sort of hobby is really, really important. And then obviously I work a lot with recording and editing and doing some social media and stuff like that. But then, yeah, besides that, in my free time, I want to do as many hobbies as I can. And then also, like I talk to my friends, it's really important if you're traveling to, and I'm not great at this, and so it's something that I'm still working on and paying attention to, is, you know, like calling your friends and family, or at least texting them, and really trying to keep those relationships, you know what I mean? But yeah, just having hobbies is super important as well, like super important, whether they're personal hobbies that you only do by yourself, or they are group hobbies that you might do like in a class setting or something like that. Yeah, so there's a ton to do, but the things that I do generally, besides working, are talking to my friends and family. I do scroll through Instagram, and I watch YouTube, and I do watch Hulu and Netflix and stuff on my phone. And then I also crochet, and I, you know, make little bracelets, and I do my sticker books, and I read and stuff like that. So I think it's really important to make sure that you have some hobbies, which I've struggled with in the past. And so I think that's an important thing to like really pay attention to. And if we're talking about things that you do outside of the car, explore. Guys, explore. Depending on your budget, there's different things that you can do, but like I like to go out to eat. I like to try new restaurants. That's definitely something that I don't really budget, but when I do, I know that going out to eat is something that I am okay spending a little bit more money on, because I love trying new gluten-free restaurants, or restaurants that have gluten-free options. I love doing that. Also, like I try to meet people if I can. Sometimes they're on like dating apps, or on Instagram, or just if you're out and you're just chatting with people. Obviously be safe with that, especially if you're traveling alone, but hopefully you can, you know, have some like discernment and really just be safe and not tell them where you're staying or anything like that. But you know, if you want to go to a restaurant and go by yourself, and maybe you'll meet someone and just chat with someone for a little while, you know. But there's also so many free things to do, like if you don't want to stay in your car. So the hobbies that I said before, a lot of them you might stay in the car or sit outside of your car at a park or something like that. But if you really want to like explore, most cities, countries, little towns, whatever, have, you know, maybe a little shop, a little mom and pop shop that you can walk into, or a really cool park that you can walk around, or a lake, or you can go see the ocean, or just anything. Like even you can Google like what are the coolest things to do in this town, or the touristy things, or the non-touristy things, kind of depending what you're interested in. And so it depends where you are, it depends on your budget, but there is literally always something that you can do. And so again, if you don't want to just have a hobby where you're sitting in your car crocheting, or sitting in your car watching Netflix, or, you know, cleaning or something like that, and you want to do something else, there's always restaurants, museums, activities that you can pay for, and then also a ton of free stuff. And a lot of that you can just Google and or ask some locals what they would do. Oh, I like this question. If your car had a personality, what would it resemble? Like a very cute, sweet little puppy. like almost like a little like Bichon puppy or something, like a cute little like, oh, you just want to do this. It's just like a cute little puppy. I feel like that would be my car's personality. Very sweet, and that they're very loyal and very good to you, and that they just want to be with you. I think that's my car's personality. She's a good girl. I love my little Blue, my little baby Blue. Someone asked, do I ever explore small towns along my trips? Yes, not very often, but honestly, I kind of want to get more into that, because I did like a week or so ago, explored a tiny little town, like a tiny little town in Montana. And it was like the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I loved it so much. I didn't record it, but I was just hanging out there with one of my friends, and we went into like a little bookstore and a little like souvenir shop and a restaurant. And like, it was just adorable. I loved it so much. It kind of looked like one of those little like old Western towns, like that kind of like architecture, and it was gorgeous, and I loved it. As much as I don't do it very often, because when I'm alone, I generally hang out in cities or suburbs, I definitely want to explore more small towns, because I feel like that's something that I haven't done that much. And then when I did it like a week or two ago, whenever that was, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I loved it. Or even when I was in Teddy Roosevelt, like the town right outside Teddy Roosevelt, Medora, is that what it's called? That kind of had a similar like sense of like just real small town, like 1 or 2 bars, a couple of restaurants, a couple little souvenir shops. And obviously it's right outside of a national park, so it's a little bit different, but it still had that same like sense of small town. And I love those. And so I do want to explore more of those. That was a really good question, yeah. Stephanie asked if I would ever consider getting a dog or a pet as a travel buddy. No. I really feel like this is shaking a lot. I'm sorry. No, except literally like right before I started filming this, I kind of thought maybe I should get a fish. But I think all the driving, that would not work out well. No, especially in this car, I don't think an animal would do well in here. But even if I had a bigger car or a van or something like that, where I'm at in my life right this second, I don't think that I would want to have a pet. I think if I was with someone else more full-time in a relationship or a marriage, I would consider getting like a dog. But no, where I'm at right now, like, yeah, having a companion would be nice, but I don't think that would be a good idea with the space that I'm in mentally and physically. I just don't think that that would really work out. So no, not right now. Definitely not ruling it out ever. Like it might happen in the future, but not right now. Okay, so Georgina asked, do you ever get lonely traveling by yourself? And if so, what do you do to cheer yourself up? So I think there are like 3 things that you can do, maybe 4, to do if you feel really lonely when you're traveling by yourself. The first one, pray. Talk to God. He is our ultimate everything. So if you're feeling lonely, scared, nervous, talk to God. He is the one who can help us the most out of everything in the entire universe, in the entire realm of anything. God is the one that can help us. And so sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night with a nightmare and I'm scared, and I just start talking to God and I just start praying, and He is the one that can help us when we are feeling anything negative. And when we're feeling anything positive, He can still help us through everything. So the next thing, you know, if you have any family or friends that make you feel a little bit more connected, call them, text them, watch some videos with them if you have any on your phone, or look at old pictures or something like that. Another thing that you can do is just any of your hobbies. If you're feeling lonely, you know, go, you know, again, I might crochet and put on a YouTube video or Hulu or something like that. I might just do something productive, but that might distract me from that feeling. So I might work or walk around somewhere, or even just be like, I'm just gonna go to Target and walk around and look at makeup. Even if I don't buy anything, just distract yourself from that negative feeling. Accept that you have the feeling, acknowledge that feeling, but then be like, I don't need to feel this, and then maybe go do something else. And then the last thing, which is much harder, and this is something that I learned recently, and so it's something that I'm, you know, continuously working on, realizing that like I am my own company, and I can be my own company. You know, like if you ever hang out with other people, it's like, well, they enjoy hanging out with you, so why don't I enjoy hanging out with myself? And so that's something that's really interesting to think about. Like if you're by yourself and you feel really lonely and you feel like, oh, like everything sucks, it's like, well, aren't you worth hanging out with? Like, don't you have interesting thoughts and stuff that you can do? It's an interesting thought, and then once you think of it that way, it's like, oh, maybe I am worth hanging out with, and I can just hang out with myself. And then, you know, that level of loneliness might kind of ease up a little bit, because if you think of it this way, you're not alone, you're with yourself. So that could be a good way. Again, that might take a little bit more, you know, mental effort and change, but it's a really, really good thing to think about, that you're with yourself, and you are worthwhile, and you are important, and you are awesome. And so if you really can again, not ever be selfish or conceited, but if you can just acknowledge, like, I have things to offer, then you can start to appreciate yourself more and respect yourself more and care about yourself more. And again, that's something that I've struggled with a lot. So it's something that once I kind of heard that idea, I think that's a good thing that we can work on in hopes to not be as lonely as we feel, you know? Okay, so Christine asked, do you worry about not having enough gas? And do you mark them to know how far apart they are? So that's a really, really good question. I feel like I haven't really talked about this very much. It depends where you are in the country. If I'm in the Northeast, I'll go down to, I have one of those gas tanks that has like the little bars, and I have like 8 bars. And if I'm in the Northeast, for example, or in the South, for example, I'll go down to maybe 2 bars and not worry, because there's a gas station every like 10 minutes. When I get out west, if I'm at half a tank, I try to look for the next gas station because they're more spread out. And so I do look ahead. Again, I've just traveled so much throughout the country that I know the areas that have fewer gas stations. And it is, in my experience, more out west and just kind of like in the middle of nowhere or in less populated states, less populated areas. And so, yeah, you might really want to look on your map. Okay, how much gas do I have? Where's the next gas station? But honestly, if you're on a road trip, I would say never go less than 1/3 of a tank of gas if you're on the road. Again, if I'm out east, I might go to like a 1/4 tank, like 2 out of my 8 bars. I might go to a 1/4 tank, but that depends where I am. And if I know like I'm in an area that there's a gas station every exit, I might go to a 1/4 tank, maybe. But generally, I do not go lower than 1/3. And then especially if I'm out west, I don't really like to go lower than 1/2 of a tank before at least I know where there is the next gas station. So yeah, definitely gas and even some car maintenance stuff too. It's definitely good to kind of, okay, I know that I'm gonna need an oil change in 2,000 miles. So maybe where do I think I'm gonna be? If I know that I'm just gonna be driving the next few days, maybe kind of plan out where there's a Jiffy Lube or something. But yeah, with gas, just look it up. You can look it up, you know, like Pilot and Flying J have an app, Loves has an app, I'm sure TA, all those places have apps, but also you could just go to your maps and just type in gas station and see what pops up. If the next one is an hour away and there's one right here, go to that one right there. You really don't want to chance it. And so when I'm on the road, don't go low. Don't go low. I know that when you're staying in the same place, you might hit empty and it's blinking, but you're fine because, you know, maybe you live there and you know where all the gas stations are. But when you're on the road, when you're on a road trip, you got to plan that out a little bit more and just be a little bit more cautious. So yeah, that's a great question. Okay, Heather asked, how do you charge electronics without killing your car battery? I have this thing. I literally was just charging my camera battery to this like Duracell power inverter, and this plugs into the cigarette lighter. I've used this a million times. I generally will plug in my camera battery and my computer in here. And then I use just like a regular one of these to charge my phone and my Apple Watch. And I've used them for years and my battery's been fine. So I don't know. Again, my computer's not plugged in 24/7, but my phone is plugged in most of the time and it's never hurt my battery. So I don't know if that depends on the car or depends what you're charging. But if you don't want to use your car battery, because also sometimes it takes a little bit slower, especially with my computer and my camera battery, I will go to a library or a Starbucks and just plug some stuff in there. So that's what I do, like if you don't want to plug the stuff in your car. There's probably other coffee shops, even maybe some campgrounds might have electricity, stuff like that, that you can plug your stuff in if you don't want to do it in the car. But especially even just for emergencies, I think it's really good to have one of these little power inverters. It looks like this. This was just plugged in here. I have this Duracell one that has one like actual plug and then one USB. I don't use this for the USB. I just use my regular little thing for the USB. But this, it's like, oh, my battery's dying. I just got to charge it for 20 minutes. I will use this. If I really want like a full charge of everything, if I'm at a friend's house or something, I'll be like, I'm charging everything while I'm here, or I will go to a library or a Starbucks or something like that to like really fully charge. It'll be quicker there as well. And then, yeah, if you are worried about your battery, you know, go to a Starbucks or a library. But I've done that stuff in my car a million times and it's been fine, so. Okay, so Sarah asked, I recently had to car camp with no cover for the windows. I didn't have pins. Help me. Okay, first of all, maybe, I mean, if you can get some pins, that'd be really cool. You guys know I have these slidey pins. This is what I use to hang up t-shirts over the windows. If you don't have those and you don't want to get them, they have windshield covers that you can get from Amazon or probably any store really, windshield covers that you can put. They also have, these are like sleeves that you can put over your windows that I think I have listed in my Amazon recommended. But then also, if you don't want any of that, if you don't want to spend any extra money, take the t-shirts that you already have. If you don't have pins, roll your window down a little bit, put it in the window, roll your window back up. If that's the only thing that you can do. I've seen a million people do it. Like when I'm at truck stops and stuff and I see other people sleeping in their car, a lot of people have t-shirts hanging up that they just put the window down a little bit, put the t-shirt in, and then roll the window back up. You can't really cover the front with that, but that's where you could just kind of put anything there or get the windshield covers. There's definitely other ways without the pins, but I still would suggest getting a cover for the front of your window for your windshield. Yeah, and then if you have any t-shirts or towels or anything like that, just kind of put them in the window or even in the door or something like that and just kind of hold them so that they can hang and cover the windows. All right, but I think that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this Q&A. I know I only answered a few questions, but I just had kind of long answers for those questions. If you asked a question that was not answered, I might do a part 2 of this Q&A because there were a ton of awesome questions, or you may have asked a question that I was like, oh, I can make a whole video about that. And so I really hope that you're subscribed so that you can see future videos and that you can get some of your questions answered. And then again, I hope that you're following me on here, that you're subscribed here, and I also hope that you're following me on Instagram as well, because I do a lot of like Instagram stories and lives and stuff like that over there. So if you want to see more daily stuff and just kind of chat with me a little bit more, I hope that you're following me on Instagram. But yeah, let me know in the comments any other questions that you might have or anything that you're curious about, or even your answers to these questions if you live on the road as well. I would love to hear them. And so again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day. I love you, Jesus loves you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.